Former Decatur police officer Mac Marquette's defense team appealed to Alabama Supreme Court in Tuscaloosa this morning, and it's to overturn a lower court's ruling that denied him immunity in the fatal shooting of Steve Perkins back in 2023. You may remember the aftermath of the shooting you see here, which saw hundreds in Decatur protesting for the last few years, seeking justice for Perkins. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo shows us what happened at today's hearing.
This is the spot where former Decatur police officer Mac Marquette fatally shot Steve Perkins during a car repossession gone wrong back in 2023. Today, Marquette's defense team tried to make the argument it was all in self-defense. Marquette's defense team claims he should have gotten immunity during a court hearing back in November. They argue that Perkins ran out of his home with a gun drawn, but the state says Perkins didn't even know that officers were outside his home. Perkins had previously told the repossession crew to leave, but they called Decatur police and had them assist with keeping the peace. The court ruled in November that Marquette and other officers hid in the shadows while the repossession crew trespassed on the property. The state argues Perkins had a right to defend his property from trespassing, but Marquette's defense team claims he was just following a lawful dispatch, and it all happened in a matter of seconds.
This court can assume Officer Marquette reasonably perceived the need to use deadly physical force when someone unlawfully pointed a gun at him, and this court can conclude that he could not retreat safely in that moment.
Our argument here is simply that Officer Marquette was not acting as an officer when he went to facilitate the repossession that would not have occurred but for his presence. Unless there are further questions, we ask the court to deny the petition.
The hearing lasted for about an hour this morning at the University of Alabama's campus. We'll be reporting any updates to you as they come out. In Decatur, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
The Alabama Supreme Court is now taking the oral and written arguments under advisement, but it's still unclear just when the court might make a ruling.
I've been on the ground less than 3 full days. I got in here Monday. President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone. I've heard many people want to know why we're talking to people who they don't consider friends in administration. Bottom line is you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions. I didn't come to Minnesota for photo ops or headlines. You haven't seen me. I came here to seek solutions, and that's what we're going to do. And we've come a long way, and we got some good wins for the people of Minnesota, I think. Nothing's ever perfect. Anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book. The mission is going to improve because of the changes we're making internally. We will conduct targeted enforcement operations. Targeted. What we've done for decades. When we hit the streets, we know exactly who we're looking for. Good idea where we may find them. But we're going to enforce immigration law. For the people that saying we're here to surrender our authority and the mission of enforcing immigration law, you are wrong. We're going to do targeted enforcement operations, and we're going to prioritize the public safety threats and national security threats. That is what we're here to do. The hostile rhetoric and dangerous threats and hate must stop. And we all agreed to that. All everybody met here today, we got to stop the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric that has caused an increase in assaults. That has caused, because of that, have to send security teams out with arrest teams, which surge the city with additional resources because of the rhetoric, because of the threats, because of the assaults. Again, with the agreements we've achieved and following through the agreements, with the rhetoric dropping down, that allows us to pull more agents out once we feel the environment's safer. I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations. There's much more we can do. And I'm going to continue this dialogue. I got many more community leaders to talk to. I got many more shares to meet. President Trump wants this fixed, and I'm going to fix it. The withdrawal of law enforcement resources here is dependent upon cooperation. Like I said, one agent arresting one bad guy in jail means less agents on the street. We have some agreements. We got more to talk about how we're going to implement these agreements. But as we see that cooperation happen, then the redeployment will happen.
Look at learning from history.
Memories. Memories of retired teacher Bill Denler and others. Pictures of history. Newspaper clippings, an old magazine cover. An official NASA crew photograph of 7 very brave people, including one, Krista McCullough, who was to become the first teacher in space. All lost in an instant. Memories of a young reporter and photographer who were expecting to cover a much different story that day.
I'm Gary Shapiro at Cape Canaveral.
We were there to do a happy story on 12 elementary school students and teachers from Boulder County
T-10.
who had won a contest to attend a shuttle launch.
Oh my God.
To witness history.
And liftoff.
Little did they know how true that would be.
Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Oh my God, look at that. Oh my gosh.
The kids who watched Challenger explode that day are in their 50s now. Many have kids of their own. I recently caught up with 3 of them on Zoom to talk about being a kid who had to grow up fast. John Weller is a critically acclaimed photographer and filmmaker now.
And, you know, somebody said, I can't remember exactly who, said that they're all dead. And, you know, I was in 6th grade, and that didn't really connect for me emotionally until we got back out of that area.
Like John, that it changed the course of my life. I think in my engineering career, I found myself kind of gravitating towards working on safety-related systems.
And Bobby Winterowd, who became an engineer for Lockheed Martin, was the only girl on the trip back in 1986. She says going through such a traumatic experience together created a bond that has lasted all these years.
Part of you, and we are always going to be the shuttle kids. Like, it's not a, it's not a negative. It's what we've turned it into.
Felt like I was losing people, that I actually knew, not just figures in the news.
I also recently visited on Zoom with Dr. Alan Stern, a planetary scientist from Boulder, who as a young CU graduate was leading an experiment to study Halley's Comet. A satellite designed at CU called Spartan Halley was on board the shuttle. It was also lost that day. Stern says as horrible as the Challenger explosion was, it taught us invaluable lessons about life, the dangers of space exploration, and how to make it safer.
But they certainly did not die in vain. The Challenger was kind of a crucible that took us to this much better space future that we have today.
We're go for a main engine start.
The shuttle kids got to go back to Cape Canaveral 2 years after the tragedy.
3, 2.
When NASA kicked off its return to space program with the launch of the shuttle Discovery. Again, we went with them.
Going back, I can't even describe how much it meant, because it did bring everything full circle, and it did give us that happy ending we didn't get the first time around.
Finally, happy memories.
The 2026 governor's race heating up, and we hear a lot of talk about who can and can't run for Alabama's top office. Senator Tommy Tuberville has announced he's running, but questions are swirling about whether he actually qualifies. So how long do you have to live in Alabama to be eligible to run for governor? Let's verify. If someone is thinking about running for governor of Alabama, they need to meet some basic requirements. But one rule in particular has sparked a lot of debate in this year's race. So the question is, how long do you have to live in Alabama to run for governor? Let's verify. Our sources are the Alabama Constitution and the Alabama Secretary of State's website and stateregstoday.com. Here's what we found. According to Section 117 of the Alabama Constitution, candidates for governor must be at least 30 years old, a U.S. citizen for at least 10 years, and a resident citizen of the state at least 7 years next before the date of their election. But here's where it gets tricky. The Constitution doesn't specify whether those 7 years have to be consecutive or if they just need to add up to 7 total years. Some legal experts say it means 7 consecutive years, and others argue it means 7 total years of residency at any point before the election. The Constitution doesn't spell out which interpretation is correct. This debate is playing out right now in the 2026 race, with questions raised about Senator Tommy Tuberville's eligibility based on his property ownership in both Alabama and Florida. But beyond the time requirement, there's another important question: what actually counts as residency? Now, if you're asking how long you have to live in Alabama to be a resident, the answer actually varies depending on what you're talking about. For example, to vote in Alabama, there's no minimum time requirement. You just need to be a bona fide resident with intent to stay. But for in-state college tuition, you need 12 consecutive months of continuous residence. And for filing for divorce, you need 6 months of continuous residency. What all these have in common is the concept of legal domicile. According to state regs today in Alabama, domicile isn't just about how long you've been here, it's about where you intend to make your permanent home combined with physical presence. So just owning a house in Alabama or being registered to vote here isn't automatically enough to establish domicile. Alabama looks at several factors to determine your domicile: where your driver's license is issued, where your cars are registered, where you pay state taxes, which house you claim for a property tax break, and most importantly, where you actually spend most of your time. So we can verify that the Alabama Constitution requires 7 years of residency to run for governor, but it doesn't specify whether those years must be consecutive or just add up to 7 total years. If you have something you want us to verify, text us at 256-382-2692.
The U.S. economy expanded at a solid pace last year and is coming into 2026 on a firm footing.
An overall healthy view of the economy weighed heavily in the Federal Reserve Board's decision to not lower interest rates again right now after 3 consecutive cuts. The rate remains 3.5 to 3.75%. Inflation has eased from the high levels in 2022, but still higher than the target 2%. And Chair Powell says job gains have remained low.
A good part of the slowing in the pace of job growth over the past year reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well.
Not lowering the interest rates again means no help for people looking to borrow money or buy houses or get a car loan. But overall, the economy, Powell says, is doing well.
Available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace. Consumer spending has been resilient, and business fixed investment has continued to expand.
Beyond policy, Powell pressed on politics. The Fed chair was asked why he went to the Supreme Court last week for oral arguments on whether President Donald Trump has the authority to remove Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors.
I would say that that case is perhaps the most important legal case in the Fed's 113-year history. And as I thought about it, I thought it might be hard to explain why I didn't attend. In addition, Paul Volcker went to a Supreme Court case famously in, I guess, 1985 or so. So it's precedented, and I thought it was an appropriate thing, and I did it.
Powell's term ends in May. Asked what advice he might give the next Fed chair, part of his answer?
Stay out of elected politics. Don't get pulled into elected politics. Don't do it.
Other than that political advice, Powell gave no indication of what would happen when the board gets together again, saying when asked if he would cut rates in the future, we'll simply let the data tell us where to go. Sean Rabb, Fox 4 News.
Gold and silver are hitting new highs and people are taking notice. I'm Fox 13 News reporter Julia Sandor in Salt Lake City at Monarch Coin Corporation, where lines have been out the door this week as people trade their gold and silver. For some coin collectors, it's not easy to part ways with their treasures.
Well, I bought them in the 90s.
But it can come.
And I paid $3.80 a coin for them.
With a silver lining.
So today they're worth over $100.
Silver is over $100 an ounce. Gold is over $5,200 an ounce.
Bought them around 2019, 2020, and I've just held on to them. And lately the price of silver has gone way up, so good time to sell.
That's why people have flooded to Monarch Coin.
The larger financial firms have started to add precious metals into their advice. So I think there are people who have come into it historically, people who have come into it just recently, people who have seen the big movements in the market and have said, I want to join that.
Experts say that trade tensions have also increased the demand for precious metals, but the lines for buying and selling here are mixed.
Picking up some silver. Silver has a lot of industrial uses, so that's a pretty good bet, I hope.
We could be $80 to $70 in a week. But by the end of the week, we could also hit 150.
While they wait in line, it's okay to have a little fun, too.
This is a James Bond 007, just a fun collector coin. Okay. And this one is Wolverine from Marvel movies.
Even if people decide to keep a few cool coins to themselves, many of these customers will walk away with something gold, silver, or maybe even green.
You got a profit take, so I think that's what everyone's doing.
In Salt Lake City, Julia Sandor, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Certainly not necessarily something a report card you'd want to bring home to your parents. I want to see us continue to fight and drive down smoking rates so nobody has to deal with the consequences. No state got all A's, but there were a few. They got the few best states, including California, Colorado, Delaware, DC, Maine, and Massachusetts. And then the states with the worst grades, scoring F's in all 5 grading categories, were Georgia, Mississippi, Texas, and Alabama.
With many states still under a layer of ice, the American Red Cross is facing a dramatic decline in its blood supply, a 35% drop in the last month. Red Cross doctor Courtney Lawrence says the supply was already suffering because of this year's intense flu season. But last weekend's winter storm is making it more difficult for hospitals to resupply. Lawrence says the Red Cross is in need of all blood types, but there are shortages of type A negative, type B negative, and platelets. People with blood type O positive or negative are also strongly encouraged to donate, as this blood group is most often used in emergencies. The Red Cross stresses this shortage is alarming. To find a donation center near you, go to redcrossblood.org. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
that treadmill has not ceased for me.
Jason Sudeikis is back on the Ted Lasso treadmill. Apple TV says season 4 of the popular series will debut this summer. A half-dozen familiar faces will be joined by a flock of new characters as Ted returns to Richmond to coach a women's football team.
Instacart lets you choose your bananas. Get 'em just how you like.
Instacart promotes its preference picker in its new Super Bowl ad with a back-flipping Benson Boone and Ben Stiller as his retro Euro disco pop duo partner who's determined not to be outshined. You'll see if he's okay on Super Sunday.
What's a booster? Somebody that steals clothes from a store and sell it at a discount price? It's like community service.
Keke Palmer leads a squad of shoplifters targeting a fashion maven played by Demi Moore in I Love Boosters. The first teaser just dropped for the new movie from Sorry to Bother You filmmaker Boots Riley. I Love Boosters opens in theaters May 22nd. Always fashion forward in Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
You think that next time I can go along?
No flying before the age of 12. It's the law.
The Oscar-nominated animated adventure Arco arrives in theaters. The English dub of the French-language film features Will Ferrell, America Ferrera, Flea, Natalie Portman, Mark Ruffalo, and Andy Samberg in its voice cast.
Why would there be flames?
You did test this thing, right?
This is the test.
YouTuber Markiplier co-wrote, directed, edited, and stars in Iron Lung. Based on the indie video game, the film was financed and is being self-released by Markiplier.
And it's only a matter of time before I'm staring at you from the cover of a Wheaties box.
Marty Supreme is getting an IMAX release this weekend. The film starring Timothée Chalamet received 9 nominations for this year's Academy Awards, including Best Lead Actor for Chalamet and Best Picture.
Let's not forget, I'm your boss. You work for me.
We're not in the office anymore, Bradley.
And Sam Raimi's Send Help crashes into theaters. The survival horror action flick stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien as an employee and her boss stranded on a deserted island. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Except for maybe this part.
Police in Michigan are searching for the person who pilfered a 6-foot-tall taxidermied black bear, posting this video online showing the alleged stuffed bear bandit in the act, dragging the thing away from someone's porch in the middle of a snowy January night. Authorities hope the bear's eclectic array of accoutrements might help track down the stolen statue, noting it's sporting a fake sheriff's badge, ring, watch, and necklace. They've taken to social media asking anyone who might see the bear or know the suspect to contact state police. While some Michigan troopers are trying to track down the bear, others are hoofing it in hot pursuit of a loose miniature donkey. Making the joke, so we don't have to, often troopers are dispatched to locations where someone is acting like an, well, you know. They say Dolly Parton, the mini donkey, not the uber-famous superstar, snuck out of its pasture in Holly Township and went for a jaunt down the road. Troopers managed to get a rope around Dolly and return her to her owners, capping the saga, saying Dolly was a little reluctant to return to her pasture at first, but of course, no one looks forward to their 9 to 5. One final wildlife rescue. A Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep needed help after falling through the ice on the Taylor River in Colorado. Wildlife managers eventually managed to muscle the stuck ewe from its ice trap, then immediately went to work warming it up. And this one has a happy ending. After a night of observation, the team decided the sheep was healthy enough to return to the wild, driving her back to an area near her herd where they watched her bolt back to her home in the mountains. For Take a Look at This, I'm Patrick Cornell.
Watch a very talented toddler make world records history twice by sinking 2 very difficult trick shots at the tender age of just 2 years old. Jude Owens from Manchester, England has been confirmed as a double Guinness World Record holder in the table sport of snooker, similar to pool, after becoming the youngest person ever to pot 2 balls in 2 different pockets with 1 cue ball strike, and becoming the youngest to pull off a bank shot using the rails to sink another ball. Jude's dad says he's shown an amazing aptitude for the game since the first time he picked up a stick, and Guinness says the pint-sized snooker shark is not only the youngest known person to secure a snooker sponsorship, he also made a special walkout appearance at the 2025 UK Snooker Championship. Speaking of getting on the stick and right on cue, pilots in a NASA research plane were forced to execute an emergency belly landing after the aircraft's landing gear failed to deploy. The video was captured at a Houston, Texas airport where the agency said a mechanical issue caused this WB-57 plane to come in with its landing gear up, sparking a fiery belly landing, with the plane eventually skidding to a rest on the runway. Responders rushed to the scene, and the agency said the crew, quote, are safe at this time. WB-57s have been flying scientific and atmospheric research missions for NASA since the 1970s. According to the agency, they can fly at altitudes higher than 63,000 feet. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Did you know that you can get weather impact updates 24/7 on Fox 54 Plus? Here's how. Go to Fox 54 Plus on your Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, or Samsung. Once you're on the main screen, push the down arrow and click on the Fox 54 Plus Weather Impact 24/7 block. Here, you'll find radar, current temperatures and conditions, traffic cams, forecasts, and more, all available on demand. Want to get back to the main channel? Just push the down arrow and click on the 24/7 stream button. It's your weather impact updates 24/7 on Fox 54 Plus. Start streaming today.
Fox 54 Plus has your news, sports, and weather. Start your evening with Fox 54 at 5:30, delivering the latest headlines and live reports straight from the scene. Then stay informed with Fox 54 News at 9, featuring your Tennessee Valley certified most accurate weather impact team, tracking everything from tornado threats to traffic delays during severe weather. Fox 54 Sports Extra brings you more of what sports fans crave, with deeper insights, expert analysis, and all the action that matters most. On Fox 54 Plus, you'll also find Alabama politics, plus 24/7 weather radar and real-time forecasts to keep you ahead of the storm. Looking for a quick recap? Don't miss Fox 54 Week in Review, highlighting the biggest stories of the week. Jumpstart your morning with Morning Rush. Fast-paced news updates, featured with uplifting stories from across the globe. Get your entertainment fix with Getting Real, where we break down movie reviews, top 10 lists, and spotlight the newest film. Die Hard fan? Locked On Sports dives deep into the Crimson Tide, the Tigers, college rivalries, and pro action. True Crime Warrior Style? Killer Cases brings you gripping real-life stories that stick with you. Hungry for more? Cooking with Style serves up mouth-watering recipes that are easy to make and impossible to resist. From movie previews before you head to the theater with Take a Look, to must-know headlines from across the region and around the world with In the News. Watch all of these shows on demand and also on the Fox 54 News app, available on Android and iOS devices, streaming 24/7.